I think one question somebody did ask when we started this whole thing was like, what are each of our roles? And I think they've started to fluctuate and they will continue to change. But it's interesting the way it all works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody recommending people we should have on with us?
I do have some people, but I don't want to spoil it for the people. I kind of like keeping it a secret.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Oh, I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
A little birdie told me that we might be talking about Disney today. So I figured I'd wear my goofy.
See, and I didn't even think about getting dressed up. I've so many Disney shirts and Disney hats, and
yeah.
I'll bet I have, I hate to say, over a dozen Disney hats.
Yeah, you're a Disney guy.
And lots of shirts.
Yeah.
And some of them are classics. Maybe I'll wear some sometime. You know, people walk up and say, would you sell me that shirt?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Probably the one most often is a Muppet shirt I have with lots of Muppets on it.
Yeah.
And then the hat that goes with it is Kermit's hat.
Okay.
And that's one of those things that I notice.
We should say hi to the people first before we get into these stories.
That's true.
We haven't said hi to them yet.
Well, hi, everyone.
Welcome back to me and my grandpa.
Yes. And, one of those things I've noticed is my neighbors, we have said that we moved to a new house.
Everyone knows you moved.
Yes. And they say, your granddaughter, Tilly, is just incredible. She's so cute or so smart or and these are, we don't live in a retirement community.
That's valid for you to say.
We don't.
Yeah.
But yet, it's kind of interesting how many seniors are in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they forget the name of our podcast. And they look up Tilly Pasternak.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've witnessed this with other
Have
senior
you?
family
They think
friends.
it's Tilly Pasternak's show.
It could be.
No, it could be. It is.
But it's me.
Let's face
and
it.
my grandpa.
Yeah.
And I have friends who it didn't click for them until they actually saw when we started posting episodes that grandpa is a play off of grandpa and podcast.
Yeah.
And it didn't click for them. They were like, yeah, I just thought it was a good name. And then when I saw it and the logo, they were like, that's a good, funny, it's an interesting name.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. But yeah, welcome and thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yes. And one of the things I did go recently to Disney World. And one day I was walking by a construction area, and I noticed up on one of they put up wooden walls to kind of keep people away from where they're building.
Yeah.
And on the walls, they sometimes have quotes from Walt Disney. And I happened to notice, I don't want to brag or anything like that, but I happened to notice that some of the quotes that they have on the walls are things or ideas or thoughts that I used to and still have when I was a professor and when I helped start a new company.
Yeah.
And when I evaluate companies or try to assist in making them better, growing, becoming more effective.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I went online and I Googled to find out things that Walt might have said that I haven't seen on the walls.
Yeah.
And so I got a bunch of those today.
Okay.
And I thought we might just talk about
Let's
some
go
of them.
through them.
You know, and if I dominate the conversation too much
It's okay.
with my history or my thinking or my experiences, just say Grandpa enough. And we'll move along.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited for today.
You are, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you know, and it's interesting. We're like, he did Mickey Mouse about 100 years ago.
Yep.
And he and his brother Roy were on a train heading to Hollywood
Okay.
from the East Coast, where he already had a cartoon character, but it was a rabbit of some kind, and the rabbit wasn't doing so well.
They made a video game about that.
Oh, did they?
They did, because I vaguely remember my sister, and it was like the rabbit world was in like black and white, and then you could play, like, you had to try and turn it into color for Mickey. Like, it was I don't know the exact details, but I remember they played on that and made a game out of it.
Oh.
The idea of like what the original was versus now.
Yeah.
And then they did Steamboat Willie
That's right.
before the current Mickey Mouse, and Steamboat Willie just exited like the copyright domain, so now it's public
Oh, really?
use.
Oh,
But you still have to be careful, because like because now technically people could use the Steamboat Willie stuff to make like shirts and stuff, but all it is that exact like cartoon cut. It's like, it can't be anything else Disney, so you couldn't put Steamboat Willie next to Mickey Mouse on a t-shirt and sell it.
okay.
And it's kind of funky, but that's a big deal. Is Disney is
Yeah. Well,
king in the copyright world.
well, he and Roy were about broke,
Yeah.
heading to Hollywood, and that's when he thought of the mouse.
Yep.
And, well, we all know what's happened. Anyway, this was a good one,
Yeah.
you know. And there were times I should try to talk about this one more often.
Okay.
Okay. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You know,
It is.
You know, and so, as a result of me being a successful business person,
Yeah.
and a lot of people have come to me and said, "What do you think of this idea?" Mm-hmm. And I always think, have you tested it?
Yeah.
Or tried it, or think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I got in the back of an Uber out of Orlando a few months ago, and the driver is telling me that he has these new incredible boots that he's designed, and he just doesn't know if it's time to give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you think? He says to me. I mean, I'm not in the car 10 minutes. I mean, he doesn't know that I know anything about business,
Yeah.
but he's testing the idea on people,
Yeah.
trying it out. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I should more often say to young people who are saying to me, I've got an idea, I should encourage them more often to give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're young.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
So what? You know, Walt would have never gotten Mickey if he hadn't, you know, bounced badly off of the rabbit.
Yeah. I mean, that was this podcast. I could have gotten a normal 9 to 5, and we would have never ever experienced what this would have been like.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we blow up and it goes away,
Yeah.
well, you know, wow.
Mm-hmm.
You've learned so much, and you're okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Stronger.
Yeah.
You'd probably do a better podcast without me.
That's not exactly true.
Well, okay.
That's not exactly true.
Okay, here's one that Walt said, and I have to keep it in mind. It's kind of fun to do the impossible.
Yeah. You're big on the impossible, making the impossible possible.
Yes, and I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, just It's kind of like I found that because I could go to Disney so often, that I might only go for a couple hours and try out a couple of my favorite spots.
Yeah.
And then I go with somebody who hasn't been there in a while, and they want to do 7 in the morning until 1 in the morning.
Yep.
And I've got to remember that's where they're at.
Yeah.
That's Disney for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because most people don't get the privilege to be able to just like swing by and just like go in for a meal at Disney or just go see the fireworks in the evening. Like for a lot of people, that is their Mecca. That's their big, like, we've been saving for years Disney trip. And I think it's always really special whenever I go. I mean, I haven't been in a while, but like, it's really special to see those people like show up for their, like you can tell when it's someone's first time at Disney and they just like light up and they're like, this is the most amazing thing ever. Cause you really like, it's unlike anything else. There's no other theme park or attraction or entertainment space that lives up to like that experience.
Yeah.
It's so, and it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. And a lot of us, we retain our childhood.
Yeah.
In those feelings that at least that's what I think Walt Disney wanted for people. Yeah. When you're curious, you find lots of interesting things to do.
That's the truth.
If you're curious about things.
They say, like, I find it really interesting, like in youth childcare, like kids who can't play by themselves, like it's seen as a bad thing. Like if you have to constantly be entertained by someone else and you can't just sit and enjoy and think and be creative on your own. So it's really important. That's like a really kind of controversial thing around like giving your kid an iPad every time they cry. Like you have to force them, not in a bad way, but like you have to kind of leave them without other things so that they're forced to be creative. They have nothing else to keep them entertained. But as an adult, I don't think we do it enough. We don't like sit back and just let ourselves be creative or push ourselves to go into creative environments.
Yeah. I think my brother was a director and also taught directing in California. And he made a movie, produced and directed a movie with Jonathan Winters. And that's, Jonathan is way before your generation.
Absolutely.
You know, he was a star for the night show in those days was Jack Parr and Johnny Carson. And he mentored a lot of comics that are getting older today. And so I got invited to have lunch with Jonathan Winters in Santa Barbara with my brother. And so my brother warned me that Jonathan liked long lunches that you pay for. He said, and he's going to ask you to take him to lunch.
Okay.
And it'll be 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he might eat a lobster. And then he might go for crab. And then the shrimp might come. And then, and it just, so I was having lunch with Jonathan Winters, and he began to talk in other characters. Like he could be an old lady, or he could be
Voice
school
acting.
teachers, and he was so kind to the wait staff. I mean, anybody who came up for his autograph, I mean, he'd take the time and he'd be sweet. And so he told me that his father and mother had a drugstore, and they would never let him play with toys. So he had to create his own toys out of little gadgets, things he could find.
Yeah.
And then he would create characters, and then he would create the voices and things like that. And just, he, out of curiosity, he created them. And, okay, enough for that one.
That's cool.
All right. Laughter, this is things that Walt Disney said. Laughter is timeless. Imagination has no age. Dreams are forever. You know, I'm trying to influence people who are my age to remember that. It ain't over till it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, I've been watching for things on television or the local stations to see what seniors are doing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good stuff out there. A lot of them are active in the communities and trying to be a part of, still make a significant difference in the lives of others.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. He says, this is interesting. By nature, I'm an experimenter. To this day, I don't believe in sequels. I can't follow popular cycles. I have to move on to new things. So with the success of Mickey, I was determined to diversify. And he did.
Yeah.
Man, I think the company is still, well, they've diversified so far that they own ABC, they own ESPN,
Yeah.
they own, well, movies. Okay.
Absolutely.
The way to get started is quit talking and begin doing. Now that's one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah?
It's easy to talk the talk and not always easy to walk the walk.
Yeah. You, folks in your generation doing that?
I think everyone does.
Yeah?
Yeah, and it comes in waves. I mean, everyone probably when they're younger, it's easy to say, I'm going to be a professional football player. I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And then you have to show up to practice or play the games or study in school. And you got to decide what's worth putting the work in for.
That is work.
Yeah. But even relationships and families. It takes work to call someone every day or every week or show up for them, even if it's not the most convenient for you. It's a big one that applies in all aspects of life.
Yeah. Do you find you're calling your family every day? Do you try to?
I talk to someone in my family at least every day. I talk to my parents just about every day, sometimes multiple times a day.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Talk to my sister a lot.
Yeah, I think about my parents a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I probably talk to my grandparents more than most kids do. Especially, I mean, think back to when I was studying abroad. I was calling you all the time.
Yes, and I loved it.
Most
it was
days
an important part of my life.
Yeah.
I think he says a man should never neglect his family for business.
100%.
Wow, that's tough.
It is.
That's really tough. I think a lot of times that creates a lot of problems in marriage.
Absolutely.
That partners get so caught up in their professions or jobs that, and sometimes it's really great when couples can work together to help one another to get through those days.
Yeah. You got to work as a team.
Walt said, if you can dream it, you can do it. Yeah, that's right up my alley. Try to capture the dreams of... I ask that question of my friends and some of my family. You know, what are you dreaming about?
Yeah. I mean, that's like asking you, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Mm-hmm. Here's an interesting one that Walt said, and is not quoted often, but the more you like yourself, the less you are like anyone else which makes you unique.
That's huge.
The more you like yourself, the less you are like anyone else, which makes you unique. Oftentimes, some people resent that idea.
Yeah.
They think that if you have an idea like that, or you move in that direction, you may be ignoring other people who are part of your life, which is a real possibility. You know, most people don't believe that or do that.
Yeah.
And I kind of think, well, maybe that's okay.
I think in some instances it is, and in other instances it can turn into an unhealthy thing. But it's all about kind of finding what makes sense, and it's kind of following what you want your path and your goals to be, and what people's opinions do you want to value.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what it's basically saying is, I think what you're thinking is most important. So his next quote: when you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, implicitly and unquestionable. Wow. When you believe in a thing. I kind of like people who do that.
Yeah.
I like that. He says we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. Sometimes that leads me to try new recipes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whoa. Sometimes it doesn't turn out so good.
Yeah. Gotta try new stuff.
Yeah. That's a tough one. Because it's risk-taking, because what if the food's no good?
Absolutely. But you're never going to find good things if you don't try bad ones.
Oh, boy. Okay. I've got more.
We can do more if you want to do more.
Well, I really like these.
Okay.
You know? Okay. Walt says, first think, second believe, third dream, and finally dare. That's pretty hard.
That's a good set.
You know, some
Good
people
lineup.
are just so worried about their future and taking risks. And I can understand that. This is, you know.
There can be a lot at stake depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. But I think he's saying that maybe, and sometimes you have people depending on you.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more difficult, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He says you reach a point where you don't work for money. Well, I think that's pretty cool if you're rich.
But even if you're not rich, if you can find a job that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, they can be hard to find, but a job that fulfills you, a company that's actually grateful for the work you're doing.
Yeah.
You're working to be happy and enjoying your life, and
yeah. Here's one he says a lot. I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. And I think there are points in one's life that we can ask old seniors or young seniors, what was the point, what happened that motivated you to go down the path you went?
Yeah.
Was there
To me, that line is like, like it doesn't have to be this grand big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It started with one little silly idea that no one would have expected or bet on. And that it doesn't have to be this grand, huge thing from the beginning. It can start off with one small risk or passion or dream. And then you hope that it continues to grow and bring other people joy or help people, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he says, I dream. I test my dreams against my beliefs. I dare to take risks and execute my vision to make those dreams come true.
Yeah.
Wow. You're kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He says, I believe in being a motivator. He says, we share to a large extent one another's fate. We help create those circumstances which favor or challenge us in meeting our objectives and realizing our dreams. That's complicated.
Yeah.
Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there is imagination left in the world.
Absolutely.
Boy, it has. It really has.
I think it's funny because it's one of those things where Disney, like you have to take it in sections. Disney as like the kids' TV channel.
Uh-huh.
Like all of us grew up with that. That's super nostalgic the way you guys talk about games, or my parents talk about like the TV shows that showed once a week on TV when they were kids. Like for us, it's Disney Channel shows or like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And so then going to Disney, like you experience seeing the princesses and taking pictures with them, or your favorite cartoon characters and all the other movies. And it's nice that like there's a good variety of stuff for all ages, but it does feel very youthful. And whether you're actually like at Disney World, the theme park, or you're chilling at home watching TV or playing Disney themed games, like all of it is stuff that like continues to live on. It's a whole interactive experience. It's not like you just show up and look at it and then leave and you never think about it again. That stuff impacts our whole lives. It's crazy.
I think one of the sometimes we used to be on TV, and we'd be interviewed on TV as leaders of our company. We'd be interviewed on a morning show, or sometimes a news channel when we're opening a news store.
Yeah.
And somebody'd want to interview us.
Yeah.
And I think it was almost like we wanted people to understand that we really wanted our company to be creative and fun.
Yeah.
And so we oftentimes would ask, we had over 1,000 employees.
Yeah.
And so we would offer them like $100
Okay.
for the best joke about our company.
You've told me about that.
Our best joke,
Yeah.
joke of the month
Yeah.
about the company.
Yeah.
And we get great ideas. And it was one way of pulling ideas. People didn't really care about the money. They just were competing.
It's fun to have an incentive, whether it would have been $5 or $20 or $100. It's exciting to compete for things.
Yeah, I think sometime it'd be fun for us to get a hold of talk about the company and what we did.
The more I think about it, I feel like it's going to need to be like a series.
Yeah.
Like I'll sit down with you and Alan and we'll really make it like a 4-episode series or something.
Yeah, we should do that.
Lord knows it's going to take more than an hour to tell the story of
it's
of
just story after story.
Exactly.
Fun stuff.
Could start a whole new. We could do a spin-off podcast, just the two of you guys talking about the socks.
Here's one that's really scary.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Sure.
This is Walt Disney.
Yep.
He says, "I love Mickey Mouse more than any woman I have ever known."
That's valid.
Oh my!
I wonder if musicians feel like that with their music.
Ooh, that's interesting. I can't imagine. That's not me. Walt, that's not me, Walt.
I could see myself doing something like that.
Yeah?
Yeah, loving something I've created and knowing the impact it's made on people. That's huge.
Yeah.
You can't get that in any other form.
I don't know. I've really liked the women.
I know you do.
Anyway, the difference between winning and losing is most often not quitting.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think you work hard at putting all of this together.
Yeah.
But you do.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
And I think oftentimes the glitz and glamour doesn't reflect all of that hard work.
Not at all.
But I think my family, everybody just knew because my mom and dad were such hard workers. Mm-hmm. And I think that was passed on just, I don't know, through osmosis or role playing or modeling or whatever. I think all of my kids are hard workers, and I think their kids are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes enormous effort to accomplish something.
Yeah, and I think we probably all get it from different places. Mm-hmm. We all have different reasons why we do that, and different reasons why we learned about it or feel like it's important. And it's interesting. I mean, you decided that you feel like you got that from your parents. Like that was something that you really learned from them.
One of the things that I often did with my life and the company I worked with or any project is I always tried to create an action plan. Yeah. To actually plan what something, now the plans can change.
Absolutely. But if you have no plan to begin with.
But once you got the dream, how do I like putting a plan into place? Yeah. Now there's just to generally be talking about, I'd like to do that. Mm-hmm. I'd say, well, how do we put together the time and energy, the resources, the money, the talent, how do we put that all together into a plan? Yeah. And I think
it's funny because with the podcast, it's so different and so out of your comfort zone versus like the things you've done historically, that like making those plans is so much more different than it probably was when you started Socks or when you did the Research Foundation. It's a totally different ballgame.
Sure. But I think Walt had the way he approached it was he believed in deadlines. Mm. In other words, I think he had a quote in here somewhere. Here it is. Everyone needs deadlines, even the beavers. They loaf around all summer, but when they are faced with the winter deadline, they work like fury. If we didn't have deadlines, we'd stagnate.
I mean, especially as creatives. If I didn't have to edit every week to post these, I'd spend years editing them to make them perfect and want to change things or fix things. And I mean, I feel like I'm getting better in my editing process for these episodes, but still, like it's some weeks I get to it and I'm like, why is it Tuesday again? Like I tried starting this on Friday.
Yeah. And that's interesting. I see that in our research foundation.
Yeah.
We have some scientists that are trying, they have achievements. They've accomplished something, but they're afraid to write about it and publish because they think if they did just a little more, it'd be even better.
Yeah.
It'd be even better.
You're worried you're stopping right before greatness.
Get it out there, you know. But once they get it out there, they're afraid somebody's going to take it and run with it.
Yeah, it's a whole nother ballgame.
And Walt said, whatever you do, do it well.
Yep, that's valid. It's like saying, like if another person won't do the job right away, I might as well do it myself. Yeah. And so it's like kind of living that standard of like, do I want to do this halfway where I'm going to have to redo it again and spend twice as much time, or take the extra 5% to do it well now instead of having to redo it again later. Yeah. And we do that with everything. Like, think about something as simple as parking in a parking lot. Do you want to take the extra 10 seconds to like back up and realign so you're in the spot correctly? Or do you not care and someone else can be stuck having no space to get out of their car next to yours? Like, it's those little things of deciding what's worth that energy to do something well before you're saying I'm done with this task or this thing.
All right. That makes sense.
Same with groceries. Do you pick something even though you're like, this isn't exactly what the recipe needs? And then you get home and you're like, well, I should have just looked at the recipe before I left so I knew what I needed. Now I have to go back and get the other thing I forgot.
Oh, how human that is. Yeah. Well, let's see. Never get bored or cynical. Yesterday is a thing of the past. Everyone falls down. Getting back up is how you learn how to walk.
That's true.
This is Walt Disney.
Absolutely. But you have to remember, this is Walt Disney. Yeah. Everyday people aren't thinking with this mentality. Or don't have the creative freedom to think like that. We probably have time for like 2 more.
I'll try this one. It's a mistake not to give people a chance to learn to depend on themselves while they are young. Yeah.
If you do everything for a kid, they're never going to know how to do stuff for themselves. I know people who go to college and still don't know how to do their own laundry.
Yeah, one of my kids was like that.
Yeah. You figure it out.
Yeah.
Got a last one you like the best?
Most of my life, I've done what I wanted to do. I have had fun on the job. Yeah.
I hope that's something that most people can feel at some point in their lives.
I have a cup that says that.
Yeah?
Yeah. Do what you like.
Like what you do? Mm-hmm. Cool. It's nice when it works out that well.
Yeah. If I have good coffee.
Oh, boy.
If I have good coffee, then that really helps.
Yeah.
Get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was much younger, I was a school teacher for a while.
Yeah.
And, anything that was brown and hot was coffee.
Okay.
We weren't really picky about our coffee as people are today. Yeah. It was just coffee. Yeah. Okay. That's it. Walt Disney had a lot of really cool things to say. Yeah. If for those of you who want to, it's easy to find. The people have written books about him. Yeah. And
next week's episode is going to be Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
So we'll have to think of something cool to do for our Valentine's Day episode.
I'm so glad you're planning.
I thought about it before we filmed today. I was like, when is this coming out? Because we obviously don't film the day we post them because it takes too long to edit. So we film them before we post them, but there's not much of a leeway. They're pretty close to being pretty quick. Usually within a week, occasionally too, if we're filming ahead of time for traveling and stuff. But I did look at the calendar. I was like, wait, are we about to film an episode that's coming out on Valentine's Day and not talk about Valentine's Day? But that's next week.
Yes. Well, in the world of retail, we had to think in those terms.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, wherever wood is, if the podcast lasts, we're going to have to be careful because eventually we're going to start talking about the same things over and over again.
Oh.
Like we had episodes about the holidays or about Thanksgiving or we started just after Halloween. So we didn't talk about Halloween really. Yeah. But like once we start getting into the over a year mark, gotta be careful that we're not just having the same conversation.
Hey, we've got some great stuff coming up.
I was gonna tell the people, come hang out with us next Wednesday for Valentine's Day. We'll have something. I don't know what it is, but we'll do something next week.
We will. It'll be great. Yeah. Come see us.
Thanks for watching me and my grandpa, everyone.